Hello and welcome to the Stage of Greatness. I am Danielle Francine, and I have with me today my good friend, Kent Peterson. Kent Peterson is so many different things to me. He is, of course, a good friend. I met him in a facilitator training program a few years back. He has since then been a mentor of mine, a sounding board. He's been many different roles and just many amazing, mind-blowing roles as well. So thank you for being here with me today, Kent. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Appreciate the intro there. Fine playing roles.
Mind-blowing roles, all of them. So our fun topic that we're going to be discussing today is plant medicine, specifically ayahuasca, but not limited to that.
Mm,
Um, and this has been something that, for the past, well, since 2020, 2020 is when I found it close to my home. January 2020 was my first journey. And I mean, that year, pretty much like monthly, I went and, sat with the medicine and almost the same thing the following year and last year, sometimes more. So I had how did we get on the topic of that? I think I had sent you a message the one day and asked you if you had ever sat with plant medicine because of something that you said. I was like, he definitely sits with medicine.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it came about. And yeah, I wear clothes like this, and you're on my coaching calls, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but after that call, you reached out and you were asking about it. You're like, "Oh, do you do plant medicine?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Do you go to ceremonies?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh, do you do ayahuasca?" And it's like, "Oh, yeah." It's like, "Okay, let's keep talking about this."
Right. And so one of the reasons that like I really wanted to have this conversation with you is number one, we've talked about it so many times before and shared our experiences, and being in the coaching world and so
Mhm.
involved in the spiritual side of things as well as the law of attraction and working with some people that have no idea about either one. It's just a fun conversation to have, and I really want to, bring it to light for a lot of people. And I've
Yeah.
always kind of been a little like, oh, like I shouldn't tell everyone. They might think a certain way, or and now I don't give a shit because it's been life changing.
Yeah, I actually feel pretty similar about it in the same way. I have been up till pretty recently, fairly uh hesitant's kind of too strong a word, but like not really directly talking about it, more of like referencing the benefits of it more so. And like you just said, it's one of the most transformational, powerful, healing, inspiring, magical things, teachers, like, whoa, I've like ever experienced. Like, it blows my mind like every time in like unimaginable ways, like consistently, frequently, and then like beyond the experience, like over and over again. And yeah, so like with all that in mind, sharing the benefits of it and such is exciting. And then also I've been noticing it's getting a lot of traction in like mainstream news and stuff. Like recently, the guy's name slipped in my mind, but like a pro NFL player was given it credit for helping him like win the Super Bowl or whatever. Um, a lot of articles about benefits for like PTSD or whatever, and psychological treatments and all these kinds of things. So it's gaining in a lot of popularity in a lot of ways. And then I'm also aware of some legal movements where it's getting a lot of traction in courts. And so yeah, all that kind of stuff's happening too.
Yeah, yeah, which is super exciting. I mean, was it Netflix last year? I think they released How to Change Your Mind. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
seen some of it, not all of it, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and like each episode was a different form of medicine, psilocybin, peyote, and it just so cool because the people, I mean, for me, it was awesome. I knew of the benefits and I also learned about, the the scientific side of it, like how it actually works in your mind and the data that they have from, having people come into their clinic and they are depressed and they are suffering with this, and they give them whatever dose of psilocybin mushrooms. They pretty much, facilitate the journey with them, ask them certain, trigger questions to lead them through that. And then like how they are after, even after just one experience with the medicine, like, and we're over here like every month we're like, yep, I'm in, let's go.
Yeah. Psycho assisted therapy is clearly far more effective than just standard therapy. Like the scientific evidence shows that like over and over again. And then, I mean, yeah, if you have a place to have these experiences in that safe environment with, experienced facilitators that know how to guide and lead and assist in the journey and the integration and processing afterward, which I think is extremely important.
Mhm.
And, you have that safe place and that safe space to be able to have the deep journeys, then it's like very fortunate to be aware of and able to participate in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and speaking of like people that are knowledgeable in it and facilitate it, and the tools, right? The tools how to work with that medicine and then how to integrate after. It's
Yeah.
so important. It was, and I we may have spoken about this a while back, but when I was still married, my husband at the time, so now my ex-husband, whatever, um, he was going for ketamine treatments because that's legal here in Florida. And the doctor that facilitated that, she was all about psilocybin. She's like, I do that monthly, and I eat this many grams, and so anyway, with the ketamine, he would have a good experience with the ketamine, but there was no, this is how you work with the medicine. When it was over, there was no integration. It was okay, see you next time. He would sit in this chair and put on YouTube and watch YouTube videos of a kaleidoscope. And he would just have the good feeling running through his body. Right. And he had an experience where he disassociated. He had an ego death and had no idea what to do with it. And it scared the
Mm.
shit out of him. And he didn't want to go back. And
Oh,
the
interesting.
opposite, where I did a journey up in New Jersey, and one of the men that was with us, he owned a ketamine clinic in Colorado, right? So he offered ketamine to us after our journey. Totally different experience. This is how you're going to work with the medicine. This is your intention. When you come out of it, we're going to integrate. We shared our experience. He gave us a meditation to do for, days and weeks after it. Like, amazing experience. So, like, bad experience, amazing experience, same exact medicine.
Mm. Yeah. Great point. Like that, the way the facilitator of the experience approaches it makes a huge difference. Plus, their degree of experience, their state of being, their intentions, all that kind of stuff, the tools they provide. Um, like, let's say you have like an ego death experience, and so like your persona like dissolves for a while, and then you have that moment of like rebirthing back into it. And so it's like all of your layers, right? So like you're a baby and you don't have any of these layers yet, and then you're going through life, and we start adding on these like belief systems and perspectives and experiences and layers based on all the information you're perceiving from your environment, parents, and surroundings. And so you have this ego death experience where that like goes away, and then you have this opportunity of essentially going through like a growing up process from like birth to the point in life you are, but it happens at a much faster rate. And if you are in an environment that's conducive for a transformation, a healing, an ascension, an upgrade, enlightenment, whatever, then those attributes can be installed into the ego, the persona, the identity that then we embrace and embody and become as we like reboot and reintegrate into our being. And then you are this new way. And that's like the power of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that in itself, everything you just described sounds like an amazing experience to be able to have that, right? Versus I thought I died and I couldn't figure it out. I thought I got electrocuted. I didn't know what was going on. And then I gave up, right?
Yeah.
That's, I
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like you're saying, if say the facilitator of the experience like didn't provide anything, so you have this like death experience. Like it's really common. You hear stories of people like see the light, or everything around them disappears and they have no idea what's going on, and then without any guidance you start rebuilding your persona based on whatever's there. And if that environment is like random standard society or whatever, and then that gets installed, and then right, so like it can be a very very different kind of experience. And yeah, that's why I encourage a guided experience that's designed for powerful transformation.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what was your, well, let me ask you this. How long have you been working with the medicine now?
I want to say, it hasn't been that long. Think it was, I mean, it was definitely June. I think it was 2021. So like the more than a year and a half, not quite 2 years, sounds about right. Um, yeah, yeah, I think that's where I'm at. And you were saying you were doing a little longer than that.
And so wait, actually, now that I'm thinking, because it's 2023. So no, I was also 2021 because that was the first full year. And then my intention for 2022, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it every month. I'm going to do it quarterly. And then I started going through everything with like, I'm going to get divorced.
Mm,
And I also feel that, well, I know that being able to work with the medicine allowed me to process all of that so much faster and easier,
yeah,
really even like make the decision, right? Because this is something that I was scared of for years. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not going to be able to, do it on my own, be by myself. I didn't feel safe with myself, confident. And like with the medicine, it was like, look, this is not what you deserve. And you know that you're worthy. So let's stop fucking around. Let's go. I was like, okay.
the way you describe that, like they call it the grandmother, but like the way it could be like literally anything can happen, but the way it can be like, look at this, this is what's going on, this is what you're doing, this is how you're perceiving it, do this instead. It's like, stop doing this. It's like, whoa, this is like really clear, like practical, tangible instructions to like better my life. When you're talking about like the processing, last year, yeah, about a year ago now, I officially broke up with a girlfriend I had of like 8 years. And we lived together for like 6 of those years. And so it was coming to an end. And it was one of those things where like I sent her a message. It's like, hey, are we gonna be doing anything for like Valentine's Day? Like, are we gonna get together or anything? And she's like, no. It's like, are we still gonna be together? We're kind of like having this conversation about it. And ultimately, it was like, no, okay. And then kind of skipping a lot of details. And then I just happened to have a ceremony coming up like a couple days later. So it's like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
So I go in and I was like grieving, like really, really hurt about it. And that journey, that entire, like I was doing a 3 day, I like doing the 3 days like every time. So I do 3 dates, back to back ceremonies. Um, and that entire ceremony was like themed around that. And like the medicine just helped me like sort it out, break it down, process it. Like the first night, I like cried about it a lot. I was like really loving, and then and then in between that, I did a combo ceremony, and
Oh yeah.
like so I explain what combo is a little bit.
Yeah, let's go right into it.
Uh, so so combo is like it's like not psychedelic in any way at all, but they burn your skin and to open these like gates,
I
and
had
then
it
they
right
take
in
this.
here.
Yeah, I got it on my shoulder, both shoulders. Anyway, and so they burn your skin, and then they put this frog poison on it, and it's got like a lot of peptides, and it has like all this stuff that helps your body heal, and then you get like sick, crazy sick, like the worst flu of your life, and you start throwing up like crazy. And for me, it like always comes out both ends, and my friends call that a double rainbow. And so like I double rainbow like crazy, and it's like somewhere between 10 and 45 minutes of just like intense being super sick. But you throw up your traumas, your dramas, your belief systems, like negative energy. They say even like spirits, like whatever, all that stuff comes out, and then you feel absolutely amazing. And like I've done it a few times, and that time like it was like inches of purge. It was crazy how much came up. As like you drink all this water beforehand, and even then, I was like, I think I threw up more than the amount of water I drank. It was so crazy. And then okay, you like pass out afterward, and then go into the ayahuasca ceremony the next night. So it's like, and then that one was really good. It was another like kind of sorting through things. It was like showing me these connections, like see this, and you did this, and that led to that, and she did this, and that led to that. And it was kind of like it would take like my own memories and like put the memory in a sequence, and then take another memory and like put that in a sequence, and then like the memories string together in the sequence would like make all these connections and insights and awarenesses. So I was like, oh yeah, oh well, yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah. And then came the third night, and then the medicine was like, sometimes it's just like vision, sometimes it's like literally words in my head, sometimes it's like my own thoughts talking to me. It can play out in a lot of different ways. And it was kind of a combination of like my own thoughts in my own head and like memories. And it's like, remember, we can do like absolutely anything. And I'm like, what do you mean, voice in my head? What do you mean you can do anything? It's like, hey, remember that experience where like your broken toe instantly healed? It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I do remember that. It's like, oh yeah. It's like, remember that experience where you met this like entity from another dimension. It's like, yeah, I do remember that. It's like, all right, you ready to really get over this? And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this. And that would pull up like a memory of the relationship, and it would be like what's that game show, Family Feud, where it's like the
Yeah.
big red X when they get the question wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like this memory of the relationship, and it'd be like not a match, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And they start bring up another memory and be like not a match, and I'm like, oh, okay. And this went on literally for like 4 or 5 hours
Oh
or
my
something.
God.
I
Wow.
was just like every moment of the relationship. It's like, see this moment? Remember when this happened? Not a match. Remember this happened? This one, this one. I'm just like, after a while, I go from like crying my brains out to like I'm laughing hysterically. Like this is like the best thing that's ever happened to me. This not working out. And then like it shifted gears. It's like, all right, you ready to take this up a notch? It's like, take this up a notch. Like,
There's
where's
more?
another notch to go? Like what? And then it goes like the very beginning of the relationship, like before it even started. It's like this, not a match. This, not a match. This, not a match. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like, remember when this happened? Yeah. Remember when this happened? Yeah. Remember when you felt that way? Yeah. Remember that? Remember that? Remember
Like,
that? Remember that?
how did I miss all of that?
Yeah. It's like, whoa, where was I on this? And how, why did this show up now? Like, phew. After that weekend, I was like, complete 180 from like severe grief to like laughing and bliss. It's like, what happened?
Right? And really, like, so if you think about it in that context, right? Like, how quickly you had that shift. You went in and you were like, well, you left and you're like, oh, okay, thank God that that's done. Like, when in real life, can anyone get over something like that quickly?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know of any other way. and it occurred in like technically 1 week, right? Like 6 days or something from the official endpoint, and there's 3 days, right? 3 nights that was like completely resolved.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, I felt like that with my marriage,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, do tell. Share some details.
Yeah. And so we were together for 16 years,
Mm,
right? We were
yeah.
best friends before we even got together. So let's call it like since junior in high school. I'm 40. I graduated in 2001, right? So it's a long freaking time. And so one of my, this was last, what was it, last year? Maybe it was the year before. So I went and I sat with the tea, right? So typically the medicine that I do, it is, they call it gentle journey. It's chocolate, but it's a mix of ayahuasca and there's some psilocybin in it, right? So the tea is much stronger, much. So I go and I sit with the tea, and the first night I I was like, what the fuck is
Uh,
this? Right? And so what was coming to me was, you are with this person because you're a status chaser. And I was like, what does that mean? Status chaser. Okay. So this man was like it in high school, right? And you were like, that's what I want, right? You became friends with him and then you started dating him and you always wanted to get married. I married him,
mm,
right? Now you're a wife. So all of these things, right? It's like, and now you have the status of being married and also to him. You don't want to let go of that.
mm,
Okay. So that was like my first, and I was so resistant to that. I was like, that's bullshit. That's no, that's bullshit. Right? You can't forget these things once you know them. So now the following year, so that kind of like started the, so the following year, I had a conversation with him. I was like, like, we're not connected, like this is not okay. Do you want to like try at this again? Oh, I don't know, whatever. So I went and I was looking for answers as to why I needed certain things from him, right?
mm,
And so I feel like with the medicine, one of the things that it allows us to do is really take our ego out of the equation and like pull back veils that we have, like blinders essentially, that we're wearing so that we can really see like what's there. Right? Why do I need this man to tell me that I'm beautiful and give me these compliments? I know that I am, right? People tell me all the time. I don't want it from them. I want it from him. Why?
mm.
So, okay, Danielle, well, that's because remember this when you were in middle school and you were a lot of makeup and people called you mascara. And if you liked the boy, they would make fun of the boy because you like them. Well, now you love this boy and he is not giving you that. So that connection is there. You don't need that shit from him. Okay, I don't. Right. So I was like, okay, well, that's resolved then. And then it wasn't, right? So there were a couple journeys to where it was, you need to really look at what you want and what you have. They don't match. So what are you going to do? Because you're settling. You can continue settling. And these are all the feelings that you're going to continue to feel. Remember this feeling? Feel that. I'm like, oh God. Yeah, you don't like that. How about this feeling? Feel that one. Right. And it was just like, boom, boom. I was like, oh shit. Okay, no, no. So that helped me get to the decision of like, yes, let's do this. And then like going through it, I remember one of my last journeys, like before I moved out of my home, and I just had this awareness of everything that I've gained from the time that I've started doing the medicine, the community, all of the awarenesses, all of the transformations, and how I wouldn't trade that for anything. right? And this person that I was married to was like, that shit's crazy. It's drugs. I am not ever doing it. Like, you're on this path. That's great. And I am not. Right. And I was able to like see our contract that we had, that we made before we came here, and that it was fulfilled. Like, this was something that he promised to do for me so I could learn the lesson of unconditional love. Right. So, like, just like things like that, like releasing traumas from my body from all of these relationships that I had prior to him, business, friendships, romantic relationships. And then, seeing what I was carrying with me since I was young, and, apologizing to myself and forgiving myself,
Mhm.
which that was like, like the things that we do to ourselves that really, I don't think without the medicine I would ever realize any of that. Right? Like, there's no talk therapy. I'm not going to give you that. Right? What are you carrying around with you, Danielle? Do you know that you're
Yeah,
working with all these things?
I mean, one of the things I think is amazing about the medicine, and you're like talking about talk therapy, is it can dig up things from like the, repress, suppress, subconscious, and be like, check this out. Remember this? It's like, oh, yeah, I do. Now I do. It's like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do about it? Accept and surrender? That's the only option. It's like, oh, well, I guess that's what I'm doing.
Right? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, there was a so like with experiences. So this wasn't with Aya, it was with mushrooms. So before I moved out of my house, I was packing all of my stuff. It was maybe a couple weeks prior to, and so the majority of my decorations on the walls were pictures of us, right? Us with animals, all that kind of stuff. And I had taken some of them down and I had them in a bin in the garage. I didn't want to throw them out, right? I was having trouble, right? Like, throw these. So on this medicine, this was probably like my deepest, like most impactful mushroom ceremony. I'm sitting on my back lanai and I'm sitting with Hape, right? And this storm starts, right? Like thunder, lightning, crazy pouring rain. And I hear, I'm just going to share all these details because I don't care, right? Like, go outside and go to the bathroom. I'm like, what? Go outside and pee. Why? Do what I tell you to do. Okay. So I go outside. I pee. I come back in. Okay, good. Now go in the house and take all the pictures off the fucking walls and put them in the garbage. Okay. So I go inside, all the pictures off the wall, put them in the garbage, take the pictures out of the bin and put them in the garbage. Okay, do that. Now bring the trash can out to the curb. Okay, bring it out to the curb. So now it's like pouring rain. I'm walking the trash can out to the curb, thunder, lightning, all the stuff. And I turn around and I look at my house and the garage door is open. My car's in there, his motorcycle's in there. My house, that was like the house that I always wanted. Beautiful home. I didn't want to leave it. And I'm looking at this house, and just all of a sudden I was like, this does not serve me anymore. This life does not serve me anymore. And it was just like, it came out of me loud. Elsie's growling. She was there for it. Came out of me loud. And as I'm saying it, it's thundering, it's lightning, it's pouring even harder. I was like, oh my God. And just like whoosh, like release. I was like, okay, now go back in the house. And as you walk in that house, you're not walking in that house as Danielle Green, the wife to this man. You're walking in as Danielle Francine. You are you. You're powerful, you're worthy, you're deserving. And this is no longer your life. You're letting it go. Let it go. I walked in the house and it was like, that was that. And that was like the huge part of the journey. There was a lot more, but that was just like, that really allowed me to like, bye.
Wow. Sounds like a really powerful journey.
That
Um,
was my storm.
yeah, yeah, literal and metaphorical.
Uh-huh.
What's coming to mind with that is like the power of these like plant medicines and like intelligence contained within that seems to be like the plant itself is intelligent or like the mushroom, the fungus. And then we get these like insights, transformations, perspectives from consuming this thing. And then that has this impact that ripples out and totally transforms us within our life. And then you like integrate back into your life, self-care and meditation and journaling and whatever, you know. And then then you're a different person afterward. It kind of like reminds me of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work too, where you just like embody this new person and then like your life transforms. And so it's like another way of doing that that seems to have like the burned bridge analogy. It's like you cross the bridge and you burn it and there's like there's no way back. It's like
Yeah.
there's like the emotional intensity of that experience is like so profound. That memory is like so deeply burned in. It's just like, oh, okay, we're different now. Got it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like once you know, you can't not know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like memories in general, right? The more and more emotional intensity there is when that experience is occurring, the more deeply burned in that memory is.
Yeah.
And that means like plant medicines, like they deliver the memory, the experience that gets a memory with like so much emotional intensity, which actually reminds me of ayahuasca again, that it's so deeply imprinted that that experience is easier to remember than like most of the things in life. Which reminds me, like the last ayahuasca ceremony I was at, I got this feeling, and it's I'll call it like a reoccurring theme, which is like it's this experiences are so different every time. Like to have anything reoccur is amazing.
Which is
Um,
so cool that they're different every time, right?
yeah,
Never
yeah,
know what you're gonna get.
and even the reoccurring themes are different in the way they play out. But this theme I've experienced quite a few times at this point, maybe like 4 or 5 times, is the feeling of like infinite, massive, immense, expanding, eternal love
Mm.
beyond anything I've ever felt before. And it is like you just get blasted with it. You are it. I'm being it, and there's like no way to not be it. It's just like, let's see, it's like there's a computer programmer like hacking me, and they're like, oh, we're gonna turn on love to the most you can possibly handle, and then more than that. And you're like, ah! I feel so much love right now. And like this most recent time that's going on, and like it went on for easily hours, although there's like no way to keep track of time in this sort of an experience. And like anything I pointed my mind at is I would like blast it with like that much love. It's like, oh, let's see, let's name up my family. Oh, I love them more than anything. It's like, oh, what about my friends? Like, oh, I'm so glad to be in their life. And oh, like, that was just going on. And so
Mhm.
like that got imprinted like so strongly, so deeply that like since then it's just kind of like on my mind all the time. And it's like, oh, cool. I get the experience of like infinite love just on my mind. Like that's awesome. And then like for fun as a practice, like I've been setting these alarms to like hourly tune-ins, and then I've been tuning into that feeling again. It's just like, yeah, let's keep this strong and alive, activate it
Yes.
more, tie it into the neural connections.
I love that. That's amazing. And I
It's just,
found, right? And I found too, and I know this goes for many people that that sit with this medicine, that you have such a greater ability, I want to say, to feel that love and give it, right, and receive it. And I think a part of that reason, I'm curious your thoughts about this too. Feel like every time that I sit with the medicine, like my baseline vibration or my baseline emotions, they rise.
Oh yeah.
Right. And it's like everybody there, right? It's just like this, and this sounds funny. It sounds like a hippie commune, but like everyone is so loving. Everyone is so, their heart is so open. They're so like, because like we're all one, right? I
Yeah.
love me, I love you. Um, but yeah, it's like from the person that I am now to prior when I found this medicine, like I feel like I was a loving person then, but like me now, like you actually you were kind of like a bitch. You just thought that you were nice.
Yeah. Well, I relate to that like strongly. Like, I mean, compared to the people in my life, I felt like a loving person. I felt like I had loving friends around, and at least some amount of the time. And then since these experiences, I'm like, ayahuasca purging, and like, you're like lightening this load of whatever that is, and this stuff's coming up, and then these experiences of like the love and the memories and whatever that it brings up and connects together and all that. And then, like you're talking about, the people there simultaneously are having some sort of parallel experience in some way and having insights and transformations and realizations. And there's kind of this overarching theme of like, love and acceptance and compassion and forgiveness and appreciation. And that's kind of like a really strong reoccurring theme for pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
And then so that's occurring. And then, like you're talking about it raising the baseline, because it's like after it's like okay, this is my emotions. It's like, oh, I'm happy, I'm sad, whatever, going through my life, and it's like spike. I'm up here on bliss right now, and then so when it averages back out, I'm like up here somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
like you're saying that the entire capacity of the vessel gets like realigned in some way.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about this several times, right? I'm like, today I just feel like that. Like, why? And it's just because so many days out of the week, like I'm flying high. And then it's like, okay, well, let's balance out from where you were. And it's like it drops down a little bit and nothing bad, negative, or wrong is happening. It's just that, right? But then the next time it's like, oh, higher. So yeah, it's like,
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing as well. It's like, oh, I just felt like the most love I've ever felt in my life, and then next time, like, oh, I'm now feeling even more the most love I've ever felt in my life. Like, how is that even possible? And like, can we do that again?
yeah, right. What's next time? Yeah. And so you've also had journeys where like you've had like business downloads too, right?
Yeah, it was my very first weekend. Even like my very first weekend, I came in with a broken big toe and like uh more or less like relatively new successful business going on. Like I'd been profiting, money's actually coming in. And then like the second night, having like purge city going on, like growing up like crazy, double rainbowing, hanging out in this at this place it was like a tent with like a composting bucket I was like sitting on. It's like and in that moment, there was also some like really beautiful visuals going on. My big toe like snapped, like it popped. It was really loud. And then after that moment, I could like run and jump, and like I was like instantly healed. It was so crazy. I was like crippled for like months, and then pop done.
Wow.
Whatever. And in that same moment, like shortly after that, before I tested out my foot, had this. It was so clear. It was like you're gonna go on like Facebook and like your group. You're gonna make this post with this exact wording, and you're gonna follow it up with this exact thing. And I did that, and it made me $17,000.
Nice.
So like weekend one, it's like, all right, we'll fix your broken toe. You'll make $17,000. I also had some like crazy stuff with like my intestines. I'll talk about that too. And it's like, well, I'm sold. Like, yeah, let's just do this again. Like,
Sign me up.
yeah, like some people are so funny. It's like, oh, I just had like the best experience of my entire life, but one's good. you know,
Yeah,
I,
how?
I'm more I'm more of the kind of person where it's like, oh, something amazing happened. Let's do that again, and then again and again and again and again until
Keep it
there's
coming.
something even better. Yeah, yeah, keep it coming. Exactly. Unless something even better comes along. But then the medicine somehow strings together experiences that are even better over and over again. So it's like, thanks, you're already the something better that's coming along. Um, and then like a lot of digestive issues and whatever, but I had this moment where I was able to like look at myself and I had like full on like X-ray vision, like an Alex Gray painting. I could just see like straight into my insides. And then I saw my intestines and they like flipped over like boop, and then like it created like a lot of relief. And I like purged out both ends and like I felt my digestion was actually better from that moment on. And like one of the things that came to mind was like people say like, oh, I'm so nervous, like my stomach's in knots, and I guess it can actually
Happen.
happen.
Yeah.
And so I guess that did happen, and then like it like unraveled or whatever, and like it was like, whoa, that's possible. Whoa, thanks.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, the little doctors, right? You told me about the little
Yeah.
doctors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The group I go to, they talk about them before every ceremony. Dr. Sita, spirits, ancestors, entities. You can invite them in, and they can come and do procedures or whatever you want to
Mhm.
call it, and they can give you upgrades. So it's kind of like entities from some other dimension can like show up and upgrade you in some way, and then that experience like sticks, and it's really profound, really memorable, really powerful. I remember every time that happened like extremely distinctly. I'm talking about like with the memory imprint kind of concept, and they're amazing. Amazing beings that somehow know exactly what to do, can make amazing adjustments. Like another reoccurring theme for me is so I've had like a lot of spinal injuries from like full contact martial arts, like doing stuff as a kid, doing stuff as a baby. So like spine's like really out of whack. No, I'll just toss them out there. It's like full contact martial arts, pretty straightforward. You get beat up. I had a friend who's a chiropractor who was telling me that like every time you get hit, like a punch or a kick is equivalent to a car accident. So like in that respect, easily hundreds, maybe thousands of car accidents,
Yeah.
right? So I'll jolt your bones around, and then and as a kid, I like jumped off a roof onto a trampoline, but like I hit the trampoline, but the trampoline hit the ground, like I was too heavy,
Oh,
and so like totally like blasted my pelvis, um, elbow, pelvis, all that. Like, oh man. And then as a baby, I had this and I this relived this experience actually on with ayahuasca, where like I was a baby, I was crawling out of the crib, and then I fell head first and like fell straight on my head, like falling out of the crib, and like basically I broke my neck or whatever, and I had like a crazy fear of heights for like 20 plus years until I started
no
like
wonder
climbing up
why.
things. Yeah, oh man, it was so crazy. Like if I came near railings, I remember like when I was a child, like at the mall, it was like two-story mall, and there's like a railing. If I went anywhere near it, I'd start like panic attack, like freaking out.
Yeah.
Even like staircase railings and stuff. Took a while to like get over that kind of stuff. And then at Burning Man, I would climb up the tallest things that were around and like hang out at the top and like kind of peek over the edge, all terrified. And the funny thing about Burning Man is like when you go up and do that, there's other people doing the exact same things. A bunch of like terrified people at the top. You're like, oh my god, it was great to get over that kind of stuff. But anyway, so back to it. So one of my earlier ceremonies, ayahuasca showed me these experiences. It's like, here's this memory, and I got to like relive it. So I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Whoa, that happened. I remember that now. Yep. And then these beings show up and they're like master chiropractors, and they'll like just start like snapping my bones into place. And so it's like, oh yeah, that neck injury. It's like, and it's like, oh, whoa, it's way better now. That's so crazy. Whoa, been like that my whole life, and now it's like straightened out more. Like what? What?
Right.
How is that even possible? Like, just comes to mind like over and over again.
Yeah.
And like one of my most recent ones, it was the jumping off the roof one came up again, and then the realization is that the coccyx is out of alignment, and
Ooh.
then like it just started like snapping into place, and I was like really crazy that that could even happen. And then it's like all of a sudden like this lower back pain I had is like less, and or like this pain like the kind of like my leg. I'm like, oh, I thought that was because I was tall, but oh, apparently it's because the coccyx is out of alignment. Like what?
Yeah.
Really? As
Yeah.
well as it's so much easier to like forward fold or whatever now. I was like,
Yeah.
really? That just
Wow.
like magically got resolved? Like
That's awesome.
what?
That's so cool.
So like that's probably the most common reoccurring theme in my journeys is to have beings show up and give me like chiropractic adjustments. And they're the best chiropractors I've ever experienced.
Mm.
Sorry. So crazy.
I'm gonna have to call on them the next time.
I highly recommend it. And actually, one of my friends who's a facilitator at the ceremony, he gave me this little prayer that you can do. And he's like, pray for a deeper revelation of insert
Mm.
whatever, you know. And as
Okay.
soon as he told me that, my immediate thought was Dr. Cetos. Let's get the little doctors coming, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I pray for a deeper revelation of Dr. Cetos. I go into that ceremony. They showed up and they delivered.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Deeper revelation of yes. I'm
Yeah,
definitely gonna use that.
yeah, yeah. Oh, another way you could go about it is CE5, Stephen Greer. You're familiar with Stephen Greer?
No.
Oh, so he's like an extraterrestrial expert, and he has this guided meditation called CE5. Um, and essentially, it's just really, really beautiful. You can track down on YouTube or like watch his like shows or whatever. But essentially, you're a beacon that summons in extraterrestrials and higher dimensional entities for the greatest evolution and love of humanity.
Mm.
And it's really beautiful to like listen to that and then go into the ceremony consistently. It has really, really profound magical effects.
Okay.
And people I share that with also have profound magical experiences.
Nice. Oh, it's amazing. I'm definitely using both of those things for sure.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Yeah, I used the little doctors, I think it was last year, and I just remember laying there, right, in a state of surrendering. And I was like, okay, little doctors. And I just feel these like, dee, 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 like, just don't worry. We're just going to do what we're doing. You just relax. We'll let you know when we're done. And I just felt these things like happening all over my body. And I mean, I felt amazing after that, right? The next morning I woke up, I was like, wow, okay, okay. And like
Yeah.
how you mentioned, like the upgrades, right? One of my last ceremonies, I have a specific end goal that I believe I'm going to be at for my business, right? Incorporating many other things over what I currently have now, right? The whole entire package for women, right?
Mm.
And so it was showing me about that. And it was like, okay, what do you want? And going through everything, like, okay, this is what I want. Okay, perfect. Well, here's this door. Go ahead and walk through it. On the other side of it is everything that you want. And I kind of hesitated. Like, why are you hesitating? I thought you wanted it. Well, I do want it. Well, then why aren't you walking through the door? I don't know. I'm not comfortable. Yeah, and that's your problem. You're not comfortable being seen.
Mm.
So you think you're comfortable being seen. This is how you can be seen. And for all of these things that you want, well, they don't match what your current system is. So we need to upgrade you. I was like, okay. So just relax. We're going to install your upgrades, show you how to use them when we're done. And during that time, it felt like I was at the dentist, that I was having like a filling done, right? Like it wasn't pain, but I felt the pressure and I felt the moving and it like all over. And then the visuals, like, here's your lens. This is what you see. I was like, whoa, like, okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
So
Amazing.
so what was the impact of that?
What was the impact
Yeah,
after?
yeah.
So one of the things that it had showed me, right? And like the visual, how I could explain it was like, have you ever seen like in the cartoons where they have like the one eyepiece that comes over and it's like computerized and there's like a target and it zeroes in, right? It was like, okay, so you see what you want, laser in it on it and focus. And as you focus, move forward and everything else just falls away, right? But the fall away was more like, okay, I see you. I see you. You don't serve me. You don't serve me. Like, done. And as you continue on, like you get that thing, you accomplish that thing, you attract that thing. Um, and then yeah, the want to put myself out there to share entirely like everything, right? So I got on here and I did a podcast about my marriage ending. Like what
Mm,
exactly happened? Like I shared that with social media, which I never talked about that ever before. That was a piece that I kept hidden. Right. So like, yeah. So that I think was the result of that or the impact of that.
whoa. Yeah, awesome. So like you're more comfortable with sharing like a more holistic version of yourself.
Well, yeah, and like this too.
Yeah.
Months ago, I'd be
Yeah.
like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah, I'm with you actually. A few months ago I wouldn't be, but here I am. And
Here we are.
yeah, see what happens. Yeah, here we are. We're doing it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say? So I know in my experience anyway, when I do say ayahuasca or plant medicine, it's either one of the two. It's what? A what? Plant medicine? What are you talking about? Or it's you do ayahuasca, don't you just throw up the whole time? Right. And so like with the medicine that I use, I've not ever thrown up from it. I purge other ways. I pee, I poop, like whatever, laugh hysterically. Um, but yeah, how would you describe it to someone that doesn't know or maybe has a misconception about it? It's a drug. It's a oh my god.
Oh wow. I mean that question. I'm still playing with it. But like, okay, I'll go with the drug comment first. In Peru, they don't that country doesn't call it a drug, but they do call other things drugs. And they say it's not a drug because it's medicine and it can heal anything. So, okay, so there's that, right? And in my experience, it can cause, activate, whatever, like anything, absolutely anything, right? Epiphanies, insights, transformations, healings, clarity, like like all perceived problems instantaneously resolved in a single moment. It's like, whoa, okay, yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Magic, thank you.
Uh, yeah, or then like access to these like, you know, beings or whatever. Yeah, it's so crazy. So, it's that, right? And then like I just saw a poll on the internet like right before this call, and it was saying like, the entities from, DMT, ayahuasca, whatever, like, are they just a figment of your imagination or are they real?
Mhm.
And then the other answer was like, just show me the results. Another one is like, I don't know. And both figment of my imagination and they're real had like an equivalent amount, right? They're both like 30% each or whatever. So that's kind of the general opinion of it at the moment, And at this moment, like I don't think it matters either way, like, okay, let's say it is all in my mind and it's like a hallucinogen, like some people say, well, I just hallucinated my bones back into place and that's awesome.
Yeah.
or or I hallucinated feeling like infinite love beyond anything from, another galaxy, then like, yeah, awesome. I'm on board with this. Let's play this game more.
Yeah.
Or maybe it really is some other being that came and did some magical things and rad, portals open, come back and visit.
Right. Right.
So sometimes I like to talk about that kind of stuff, which then the people in both categories get like even more like, what?
What?
it does not help the description at all. Like I had a friend and I wanted him to come, like longtime friend. And he's like, well, what was it like? Right. He was like what you said, like, I just like throw up a bunch. He's like, well, yeah, but it's like, well, not every time. I'm like a bottom purger. So like it always comes out the bottom. But mouth is, hit or miss. It happens sometimes a lot. In Peru, oh my God, so much. It was so crazy. But so okay, so it's like, yeah, that happens, yeah. And then I met these beings and they showed me infinite love and popped my bones into place, and I was like, what? It's like, you're totally crazy. It's like, okay, well, that's not the only thing that happens. Like, I also had this experience where I went into the suppressed, repressed portion of my mind and dug up all those memories and brought them up on the forefront, and then like went through it, and I got to relive the experience and cry about it to release it. And then I'm no longer like upset by that. And they're like, what? Why would you do that? It's like, well, it wasn't a choice, and it was a really great, really profound healing experience. So it's this amazing, magical healing thing. And they're once again like staring at me like, can you do this
For fun.
voluntarily more than once? Like, it's like, okay, well, so then like I keep kind of playing with the way I like to describe it. And most recently, I'm like, oh, it's an infinitely intelligent, multidimensional teacher that knows the exact lesson to help you progress in your life in the most accelerated, healing, possible, probable, effective, beneficial way you could possibly do. And people were like, how is that even possible? It's like, well, yeah, I
You just
mean,
gotta
yeah,
try
you
it.
gotta. Yeah, well, and if you try it, it's probably not going to happen, but it might. But if you think it will, it won't. If it doesn't do the thing you think it will, and as soon as you stop thinking it will, it might do it.
No
And they're like,
expectations.
what does that even mean? It's like I had this friend that I saw like last time I went, and he's like, oh man, I'm like certain ceremony is going to be this certain way because I had these other experiences. My life's going this way. And those first 2 nights were like not that at all. He was like hunched over. His throwing up was so crazy. It was like some of the most intense I've heard. Like the sounds he was making, like it was out of this world. And then so each night I'm like talking to him, right? And then like before the third night comes around, he's like, I just give up. I have no idea what's gonna happen. And then the thing he thought was gonna happen actually happened the third night. And he's like, oh, so as soon as I give it up and I don't think it's gonna happen, now it's okay to have it happen.
Yep, because he surrendered.
Yeah. Yeah, I do saying that. Like one of my earlier ceremonies, I'm like having all these really cool experiences before that. And then I go and I'm drinking it, and like it's like nothing. Like I'm like literally it felt like absolutely nothing happened. And I'm drinking a lot of this stuff. And then eventually I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm here. I'm out of the house. I'm hanging out with the friends. I love the live music. Whatever, I give up. And then in that moment, it just went like exponential, out of this world, start like throwing up like crazy. These like shadow light beings are like shooting laser beams, and like, everything's shifting. And it's like, oh, as soon as I completely give up, here we go. Whee!
Yep,
And
yep.
so those are kind of ways I like to describe it to people. And no matter what I say to the people, I would say like 9 out of 10 people look at me like I'm absolutely insane.
Mhm.
And then the other one is like, oh, tell me, how do I do this? Tell me where it is.
Yeah,
It's like, sign me up. Like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, here's the info. Go check it out.
right. And really, I feel like it's when you're ready for it, right, is when it shows up.
Yeah, yeah. Like a lot of people say it finds you where it calls you. And a lot of people say the medicine begins before you drink it, which is it's absolutely fascinating that it seems to do that.
Yeah,
How's that even possible?
yeah,
and, and yeah, yeah, because like it was sort of like a back burner bucket list thing for me, but I thought I'd have to like go to the jungle in the middle of nowhere and know another language and all this kind of stuff.
right.
When then like a friend who I met through a coaching program, that same coaching program I met you through,
Yeah.
was like, hey, that's actually a lot like the conversation we had, a lot like it. It was like it was on one of my calls, so something about me indicates that I'm into this kind of stuff. I don't know
It's
what
your,
it is.
it's your shirts.
Yeah, yeah, just gonna like emphasize.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Hey, do you do ceremonies? And I'm like, yeah, I like ceremonies. It's like, oh, do you do plant medicine? I'm like, yeah, I like plant medicine. It's like, oh, do you like plant medicine ceremonies? I'm like, yeah, I like plant medicine ceremonies. Like, oh, do you like ayahuasca? I'm like, oh, I haven't done it before. What's up? She's like, oh, I'm a facilitator of it. You want to like come to the ceremony? It's like, oh, what? Yeah, let's do this. And like generally I like measure how things feel, right? So it's like a scale of 1 to 10, my regular life. Her asking me this was like, man, 25. It's like, oh, okay. Yes, this is what I'm doing. Like the calling is clear.
Yeah, so funny. Well, it's like with me. So when I lived in Fort Lauderdale, there was a man that lived in my building, and just, random conversation. The one day he tells me like, "Oh yeah, I went to Peru to do ayahuasca." I'm like, "Wait, what?" So, I was talking about it, and I'm like, "Ah, I want to do that." So I had the same thought, like one day I'm going to go to Peru to do that. And then I moved to West Palm a year later and find out that there's a place in Fort Lauderdale right down the street from where I lived in Fort Lauderdale, right? So it's like, but it wasn't your time at that time, Danielle. You weren't ready. Now you're ready. All right, so
Yeah,
cool. How it shows up. And like
yeah.
how the medicine starts before you even take it. It's like the week leading up to when I'm gonna go to ceremony. If I'm like, I don't know what my intention's gonna be, it's like, oh, here's one for you. And also here's another one. Like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. It seems to happen every time. Like
Yeah.
even if I had intentions that I set, it's like that week before, I'm doing the dieta and I'm like tuning into it. And then like this totally unexpected thing occurs that's like, well, apparently this is what I'm going to be working on.
Right. You thought this, but here's this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then usually it somehow wraps up all the intentions together in some like unexpected way and delivers in a way that never thought was possible, that answers them in a way that I didn't think it was going to.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's magical, really. If I had to sum it up in a word, magical.
Oh, yeah, yeah, magical. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah.
And like you were asking about like what to say to people. Like if I was gonna be like completely honest about it, it's like, okay, so it's this magical experience that anything can happen, and it does exactly what you don't think it's gonna do, and it gives you the most beneficial thing you can experience.
How is that not appealing?
And
And
you
also
might throw up a
right.
bunch.
And you
Yeah,
what?
and you might throw up a bunch.
And that was always a big resistance that I had to the tea. Like, I don't want to throw up. I hate throwing up. And you helped me change my perspective on that. And still, even the times that I've sat with the tea after that, I've still not thrown up. I'm sure when I go to the jungle, and when I go to Peru, I'm going to.
Oh man.
And I'm also okay with it. But yeah, yeah, it's like if you let that hold you back, like, I don't want to throw up. It's like you're focusing on such a small piece that's just really like you're letting it keep you from greatness, really.
Nah, yeah. Like and like you pointed out, like not everyone does. And like I personally don't every time. And then like I actually did combo before. And so I became very familiar with the experience of purging like crazy. And so yeah, doing that, going through that path first, and then I really got in touch with it's like the idea of like you're getting well, like we are talking about right before this. And it's like your body's already sick, and then so the purging is how your body heals, you
Right.
know and you know and like a lot of times like I had no idea that I was sick in that way, but once it's gone, then you're like, oh yeah, that was there, and I feel amazing now that's not. I
Yeah.
think you mentioned like Peru, and man, like the group I went to in Peru, like they are firm believers that the more you purge, the better. And they were putting like I don't know their exact brew, although they told us. but they like to put like extra tobacco in it, and they like mapacho, right? Like a certain type of special tobacco. And like one, it makes it like way more nauseating and like way more dizzy. And I personally don't smoke any tobacco at all, like ever.
Yeah.
And so I definitely don't have any sort of a tolerance to it, you know? And so like the medicine there was like on top of its usual effects, it's like super dizzying, super nauseating, and every time I drank any amount of it, it would be like double rainbow city.
Oof.
Like I was just like purging like crazy, crazy, like oh, it was so crazy, and the whole group I was with would be purging like crazy, like it was, and
Keep
then
them
like
rally.
yeah, and they were talking about like how it's a great thing, and they're like, oh yeah, they had like oh yeah, when you're dizzy and like wobbling, that's great for these reasons, and like when you're purging like crazy, like oh, that's great for these reasons, and they liked it that way. So like yeah, that was part of the fun down there.
Mhm. Well, I'm sure after I come back, I'm going to be doing a show about my experience.
Oh yeah, love to hear it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I have a feeling that this will not be the last show that you and I do together either.
Oh yeah, I'm up for it.
So much
I'm,
stuff.
I'm I'm enjoying this experience. So
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, even though I don't want to, I guess we're going to wrap it up just because.
we could clearly keep going on the topic. There's so much to say about it. Um, so yeah, did we cover all the highlights you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I think so. I think and I feel that we gave the audience a sizable chunk of our experiences, what they could expect. Um, like where we were before and where we are now, how it's helped us, when we both think it's magical. And really
Yeah.
like all the people that I have in my tribe and you have in your tribe, I'm sure they feel exactly the same way.
Oh yeah. 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 I got a comment though. When you say you know what to expect, if they think it's anything other than the complete unexpected.
Yeah, true. And that's one thing that I learned very fast was don't have any expectations, right? Have your intention and then just surrender. Like whatever you want to show me, whatever I'm meant to experience, bring it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that's a solid approach, right? It's like have that intention, immediately throw it away and forget it. And anything you think it is, it's gonna make sure it's not that.
Great. I love it. I love all of it. But yes, so and I mean really for anyone listening too, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. I mean, Ken, if you want, I'll put your Facebook information in the show notes. So if someone wants to, reach out to you, same thing if you're cool with that.
Yeah,
Um,
let's do it. I'm open to it.
yeah, it's like we both love talking about this because it has been such an amazing tool that I believe for the both of us has allowed us to, get to where we are at a faster pace, at a more, well, I don't even know the word that I want to use. You probably feel the word that I want to use. I don't know if you know the word.
I mean, like what comes to mind for me is like accelerated, exponential. It's like if it's like a rocket ship launching, right? It's like, but it's actually more like a hyper-dimensional spaceship that instantly teleports to new locations.
Yeah. And even to like I want to say like at an easier path because I feel
Well, yeah,
more connected to yourself, to your inner being and your intuition and feeling the guidance, right? Whereas before it was here, like I would follow this, and now I'm more in tune with this, and I act
yeah,
on that.
yeah, yeah. I agree with all that. Um, Yeah, easier is kind of a funny word. Like
Yeah,
I wouldn't
I
say
like
all the
it.
journeys are easy, you know. But the impact it has on life is life seems to be easier, at least easier to navigate.
Yes, yes, I agree for sure. Okay, we're done with rabbit holes, promise.
Or
Well, thank you again, Kent, so much for being with me here. It was a pleasure. It was a blast, and I can't wait to do it again with you.
yeah, yeah, let's do it again. Yeah, just reach out and let's make it happen.
Yes, for sure. Great. And everybody, thank you for listening. We both hope that you enjoyed all of the things today. Feel free to share this show with your friends, with your family. Just share it to share it because the more people that are aware of this beautiful plant, the more healing it can bring to people and to the world, the better place that we live in, right? The kinder the people, just the more love everywhere. So again, reach out to myself, reach out to Kent, share, subscribe, and till the next time, see you soon. Bye guys. Thank you.